She looked like someone scraped off the street, not someone sitting in first class. Sharon Jones pulled her worn hoodie over her head and sank into seat 4B as mocking whispers spread through the cabin like arrows finding their target. To the wealthy passengers around her, this woman was clearly in the wrong place, pale, ordinary. What was she even doing here? But hours later, when the radio crackled with a frantic call, "Is there a pilot on board?" the entire cabin froze solid. Sharon quietly opened her eyes, rose from her seat, and with a single sentence turned everyone to stone. "I'm an F-16 pilot. Take me to the cockpit." And in that moment, a terrifying truth emerged. Ghost Rider, the pilot the Air Force declared dead 4 years ago, was here, breathing. American Airlines' red-eye flight cruised at 35,000 feet from New York to Los Angeles. The Boeing 777's first-class cabin hummed with the soft sounds of wealthy executives typing on laptops and jeweled women scrolling through their phones. A politician in the back sipped his drink while surveying the crowd. Sharon curled up by the window seat. Faded jeans, worn sneakers, gray hoodie. Everything looked like it had been used for years. Her face was makeup-free, hair pulled into a messy bun, with a cheap gas station headset hanging around her neck. She looked like she'd boarded the wrong plane, and everyone had noticed. Their stares were sharp, judgmental, as if this woman had infiltrated and contaminated their perfect world. In 12B, 6-year-old Madison with braided hair was coloring a horse picture, crayons scattered everywhere. Her mother, Catherine, with neat short hair and an expensive pearl necklace, watched her daughter while forcing a smile. When Madison's water cup tipped over, Catherine's face tensed. "Oh, Madison, be careful." She quickly grabbed tissues to dry Sharon's sleeve. Her apology came too fast, as if she wanted to escape this situation immediately. Across the aisle, a pinstriped businessman, David Kumar, spoke with his young partner Tyler. "She doesn't belong in first class at all," his voice low but audible. Tyler glanced at his Rolex and laughed. "Probably used miles." "Impossible," she paid cash. Sharon didn't move. She pulled her damp arm closer, fingers brushing the worn fabric as she leaned toward the window, her eyelids half closed, breathing steady, as if these words didn't touch her at all. But there was tension in how she gripped her small backpack strap, a momentary tremor. Young flight attendant Michael passed by with his practiced smile, eyes catching Sharon's headphones. His eyebrow twitched for a split second. His thoughts were clear. This woman didn't belong here, not among the elite, not in this prestige cabin. Catherine looked at Madison, then Sharon, voice soft but pointed. "It's fine, sweetie. The lady's just sleeping." Madison paused her crayon and whispered, "Why are her clothes so old?" Catherine hushed her, but the question hung in the air, heavy and unanswered. A row ahead, a navy-blazered man studied his spreadsheet. He turned to the diamond-earringed woman beside him. "Definitely a charity case. Must be some airline campaign for the unfortunate." The woman smirked, adjusting her earrings. "Look at those shoes. They look like they came from a real battlefield." Low laughter spread, cutting through the cabin's quiet. Sharon's hand wandered to her backpack, touching a small faded patch beside it, an old insignia of crossed swords with wings, nearly invisible unless you looked carefully. She shifted slightly, leaning her shoulder against the window, hiding her face in the hoodie's shadow. Cabin lights dimmed and passengers settled into their routines, unaware of what that patch meant, what history it carried. The cabin found its gentle rhythm, engine hum, glass clinks, newspaper rustles. Red-blazered Emma Rodriguez, a social media influencer with millions of followers, sat 2 rows ahead flipping through a fashion magazine with a smirk. She spoke to tech CEO James Morrison beside her, his gold watch glinting under the lights. "Wrong section, definitely," Emma whispered, voice sharp. "Look at those shoes." James swirled his wine. "Someone should tell her." "This isn't economy," his tone dripping with mockery. Several more passengers heard and turned to look at Sharon, thin, cruel smiles on their lips. Sharon remained frozen, hoodie pulled tight, eyes locked on the dark window, the cabin's reflection playing across her face. To them she was nothing, shadow, nobody, someone who didn't know her place. Madison kept watching Sharon, clutching her coloring book. She whispered to Catherine, "She's nice, Mommy." She didn't get mad about the water. Catherine forced a smile and patted her daughter's head, but her eyes stayed on Sharon, a mixture of pity and discomfort. Sharon's hand returned to her backpack, tracing the wing and sword patch. Her lips pressed tight for a second, then relaxed. The plane droned on, passengers lost in their own worlds, unaware of the weight Sharon carried. Across the aisle, tailored suit lawyer Linda Martinez adjusted her glasses and whispered to her assistant, "Probably an intern who won a free ticket." Her assistant stifled a smile and nodded. The wave of judgment spread like ripples, each passenger adding their own small barb, weaving a web around Sharon's silent figure. Welcome to Hidden Legends. If this story hits you deep, if you've felt those stares, heard those whispers, been judged for something as simple as your clothes, do me a small favor. Pick up your phone, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Sharing these moments with you, walking through pain and strength together, means everything. All right, let's continue. The plane hit sudden turbulence, shaking the overhead bins and spilling several drinks. Passengers gripped their armrests, holding their breath, but the situation stabilized and the cabin relaxed. David Kumar returned to his laptop, complaining about delayed emails. Emma Rodriguez took a selfie, angling to capture the cabin's luxury. Senator William Gates in the back sipped his whiskey while surveying the passengers. Sharon remained motionless, hoodie pulled down, breathing calm. Madison hummed softly, drawing a new plane soaring through clouds. Sharon's hand rested on the armrest, fingers tapping very lightly, as if following a rhythm only she could hear. Steady, practiced, like a pilot running through pre-flight checklists. A tan, linen-suited man leaned toward David Kumar. "Think she's one of those budget passengers who snuck up here?" His voice loud enough to draw chuckles. David smirked, closing his laptop. "Definitely. Look at that backpack. I've seen better at thrift stores." Laughter spread, murmurs of agreement from nearby seats. Sharon's fingers stopped. She leaned down and pulled her backpack closer, movement slow and deliberate. A small keychain dangled from the zipper, a tiny metal jet, smaller than a quarter, glinting faintly under the cabin lights. She tucked it out of sight, face still hidden by the hoodie, but her shoulders tensed noticeably. The linen-suited man didn't see it. He'd already returned to his phone, scrolling vacation photos, unaware of his words' weight. The plane's hum rose for a moment, engine straining slightly, then returned to normal. A silk-scarved woman with heavy perfume turned to her banker husband. "I don't understand why they let people like her into business class." Her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "It ruins the whole experience." Her husband nodded, adjusting his cufflinks. "Standards are dropping these days," he muttered. Sharon's hand paused on her backpack, fingers at the zipper where a small tear in the fabric revealed glimpses inside. The corner of an old photograph, edges yellowed. She zipped it closed, movements precise, and leaned back, eyes on the window. Cabin lights cast her reflection, face calm but jaw tight, as if holding something back. Passengers didn't notice, their voices a steady hum of judgment piling onto the weight Sharon silently carried. Then the intercom crackled, sharp and urgent. "Attention, this is your captain. We need immediate medical or pilot assistance. Is there a pilot on board?" The words cut through the cabin like a blade. No one moved for a heartbeat. Then chaos erupted. People twisted in their seats, voices rising in frantic hum. David Kumar slammed his laptop shut, face pale. "What does that mean?" he muttered. Emma Rodriguez dropped her phone, hand trembling. "This can't be happening," she whispered. Senator Gates set down his glass, jaw tight, but didn't move. Catherine pulled Madison close, voice shaking. "It's okay, honey, it's okay." But her eyes were wide, darting around the cabin. Michael rushed down the aisle, face drained of color. "Is there a doctor or pilot here?" he shouted, voice cracking with panic. "Anyone, please?" No one stood. The air felt thick, the cabin shrinking under fear's weight. In 12C, Sharon stirred. Her eyes opened, slow and steady, as if she'd been waiting for this. She sat up, pulling down her hoodie, reaching into her backpack to pull out the small old photograph. She slipped it into her pocket, fingers brushing the wing and sword patch. Then she stood, sneakers silent on the carpeted aisle. David Kumar spotted her and scoffed. "Don't tell me that girl thinks she can help," his voice loud enough to carry. Emma Rodriguez let out a sharp laugh, lipstick smudged from nervous biting. That girl probably can't even drive a car. James Morrison leaned forward, watch glinting. Don't make things worse, sweetheart, his tone thick with condescension. This isn't a game. Madison clutched her mother's arm, voice small. Why are they being mean? Catherine didn't answer, eyes fixed on Sharon, doubt flickering in her gaze. A polo-shirted man, face red from too much wine, stood blocking Sharon's path. Sit down, kid, his voice slightly slurred. You'll make this worse for everyone. Passengers around him nodded, murmurs growing louder, a chorus of disbelief and scorn. Sharon stopped, eyes meeting his briefly. She didn't speak, but her gaze was steady, unyielding, as if looking through him. The man faltered, stepping back, his bravado crumbling under her silence. Sharon moved past him, steps measured, backpack over one shoulder. Michael hesitated, eyes flicking from her sneakers to her hoodie. Ma'am, please, we need someone qualified, his voice tight. 2 rows back, Linda Martinez chimed in, glasses glinting. She slept through the whole flight. Now she wants to play hero. Laughter followed, cruel and biting, rolling through the seats like a wave. Sharon didn't look at them. She stepped into the aisle, shoulders squared, face unreadable. I'm an F-16 pilot. Take me to the cockpit. The words hit the cabin like a shockwave. Laughter died, replaced by stunned silence. David Kumar's jaw dropped, drink halfway to his lips. Emma Rodriguez blinked, phone forgotten in her lap. F-16, someone whispered. What's that? An older man in back. Thomas, a retired Marine with a faded insignia on his jacket, shot to his feet. That's an Air Force jet, his voice trembling with awe. Only fighter pilots fly those. Michael stared at Sharon, mouth open, then nodded quickly. This way, he said, gesturing toward the cockpit. The crowd parted, some reluctantly, others too stunned to move. Linda Martinez muttered, This is insane. But her voice was quieter now, less certain. Sharon walked past them, steps steady, backpack on her shoulder. A woman in a tailored blazer, hair pulled back tight, whispered to her companion. She's lying. No way a girl like that flew fighter jets. Her companion nodded, but his eyes followed Sharon, doubt flickering in his gaze. Sharon's sneakers moved silently down the aisle, but her presence seemed to fill the cabin, shifting the air. Madison watched her go, small hands clutching her coloring book, eyes wide with something like hope. Catherine pulled her close, but her own hands trembled, earlier pity replaced by quiet unease. The cockpit door opened, and the air inside felt heavy, as if the plane itself was holding its breath. The captain slumped in his seat unconscious, face pale and slick with sweat. Co-pilot Kevin, a young man with a buzz cut, gripped the controls, knuckles white. He glanced at Sharon and frowned. You, a civilian woman. His voice was sharp, almost accusing. Outside, passengers pressed close to the door, voices leaking through. Don't put our lives in her hands, Linda Martinez shouted, tone high with panic. If she messes up, we all die. Kevin's eyes flicked to Sharon's hoodie, her sneakers, then back to the controls. You sure you know what you're doing? He asked, voice softer but still skeptical. Sharon didn't answer. She slid into the captain's seat, hands moving over the controls with quiet confidence that made Kevin pause. Her fingers brushed a worn ring mark on her left hand, barely noticeable, but her thumb lingered there for a moment, as if anchoring herself. A memory flashed, sharp and vivid. Dusty airbase, sun beating down, jets roaring overhead. Sharon, younger, hair pulled back tight, standing before an F-16, call sign stitched on her flight suit. Ghost Rider. Her commanding officer clapped her shoulder, voice gruff. You're the best we've got, Miller. She'd nodded, eyes on the jet, heart steady. Then the mission, the explosion, the report that said she didn't make it. She'd walked away from that life, from the medals, from the name. Now in the cockpit, her hands moved as if they'd never left. The plane steadied, horizon leveling. Kevin stared, mouth half open, as if seeing her for the first time. She reached for the radio, voice calm as if ordering coffee. This is Ghost Rider requesting clearance. The words hit air traffic control like a bomb. Long pause. Then a frantic voice crackled back. Ghost Rider. Impossible. You were declared KIA 4 years ago. Kevin's head snapped toward her, eyes wide. Outside, passengers fell silent, Linda Martinez's shouts dying in her throat. Thomas whispered to his companion, "She's a ghost." Sharon didn't react. She kept talking to the tower, voice steady, guiding the plane through the shaking. Her hand brushed the folded photograph in her pocket, edges crinkling softly, and her jaw tightened for a moment before refocusing on the controls. The radar screen flashed red, a massive storm cloud looming ahead, edges jagged and angry. The plane shook harder, turbulence rattling overhead bins. Passengers gasped, some clutching armrests, others whispering prayers. David Kumar pushed toward the cockpit door, face flushed. "I don't believe her," he shouted. "She's a fraud." Emma Rodriguez, confidence shaken but not gone, joined in. Better to pray than trust her. A few others nodded, fear outweighing their shame. Michael blocked the door, voice firm. "Stay back. Let her work." Sharon didn't turn. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but her hands never wavered. She adjusted controls, eyes narrowing as she found a gap in the storm, a razor-thin path through the chaos. Madison's small voice cut through the noise. "She's going to save us, Mommy." "I know it." Catherine hugged her tighter, her own tears falling now. The plane dipped, then climbed, threading through clouds like a needle through fabric. Turbulence eased, then stopped. Cabin lights flickered, and for a moment, everything was still. Then the plane burst free of the storm, sky opening clear and blue. Passengers erupted in applause, cheers loud enough to shake the walls. The plane descended, landing gear humming as it locked into place. Passenger cheers grew louder, this time mixed with sobs and applause. Sharon unbuckled her seatbelt, stood, and slung her backpack over her shoulder, face as calm as it had been in 4B. Michael opened the cockpit door, hands trembling slightly as he stepped aside. Passengers watched her emerge, their applause faltering as they saw her still in that faded hoodie, those worn sneakers. A man in a tweed jacket, glasses perched on his nose, whispered to his wife, "She doesn't even look proud." "Who is she?" His wife shook her head, eyes wet. Sharon walked down the aisle, step steady, gaze fixed ahead. Madison waved her coloring book, the plane drawing now complete with a bright sun above it. Sharon's lips curved just enough to notice. Then she kept walking. The airport was chaos. Reporters swarmed the gates, cameras flashing through windows. Passengers spilled out of the plane, some still shaking, others talking over each other, voices mixing awe and shame. Airport security came first, then local police. But the real surprise was 3 people walking from the parking lot, dressed in civilian clothes but with military bearing, the kind who didn't need to show ID. Sharon stopped when she saw them. The woman in front, in her 40s with short-cropped hair, approached Sharon. She didn't salute or shout. She just stood there and smiled. "Hello, Sarah," she said quietly. "We wondered about you." Sharon nodded. "Hello, Samantha." As the crowd tried to understand what was happening, Sharon pulled the small photograph from her pocket. Worn, corners frayed, 3 people smiling in front of a plane, 2 women and a man. Sharon on the left, the man in the middle, Samantha now standing before her on the right. "You still carry Jake's photo," Samantha said. "Always do." "Is that why you left?" "All 3 of us were supposed to make it home that day." Sharon looked at the photo. "Sometimes surviving isn't enough. You have to live." Samantha nodded. "We've been looking for you for 4 years, waiting for the day you'd fly again. I flew today." "We know. And you're still the best." Reporters extended microphones, but Samantha stopped them. "Ghost Rider's story ends here. The rest is up to us." Sharon shouldered her backpack. "I was just a passenger today." "No," Samantha said. "You're still Ghost Rider, and the sky is waiting for you." 3 days later, passenger Catherine Wilson posted on social media. "The other day I judged the woman sitting next to me on a flight. The woman I thought was homeless turned out to be a retired F-16 pilot who saved our lives, Major Sharon Jones. How many stories do our prejudices make us miss?" The post went viral. #GhostWriter became trending, but Sharon Jones didn't see social media. She was standing at a small airfield with her old friend Samantha, looking at the runway. "You ready?" Samantha asked. Sharon touched the photograph in her pocket. Jake smiled there, young and full of life. "For Jake?" she asked. "No," Samantha said. "This time for you. Fly for yourself." Sharon looked at the runway. The F-16 waiting there gleamed in the sunlight, waiting. For the first time in 4 years, she truly smiled. "Ghost Rider ready," she said. "Where are you watching from? Leave a comment and walk with me through heartbreak, prejudice, and finally rebirth."